we're going to be talking about two important key things here. And I know the agenda shows four, but it's going to break down into two things here. Number one is going to be sensors, and then number two is going to be, as your phone gets interruptions, I think that LG works. Because it's a phone and there's going to be interruptions, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to handle those? How are you going to, save state, resume state? How does that all work? And so that's what those bottom three areas are there. So first off, we're going to jump into sensors. And on the phone, we got 5 sensors. And Eric talked about this briefly at the first, or at least he showed a slide when I wasn't paying attention. But what you want to know here, and we're going to look at the orange, okay? So what sensors are available in the API right now, okay? And that's the GPS, the accelerometer. And you notice that the compass, the light, the proximity sensor, that thing that detects when I held this up to my head, and it turns the screen off, those aren't available in the API right now. Those sensors are in there, right? When those, and that's a time constraint. When those do become available to us, you'll see new guidelines in the marketplace that will talk about what you should do to use those and have a good experience so that you don't hit your average error. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about first the GPS, and then we'll jump into the accelerometer. And on the phone, this phone, there's 3 hardware devices that provide GPS, that provide that GPS information, and that's going to be the GPS receiver, the Wi-Fi, and the cellular radio. Okay, and that's at the hardware level. And then those communicate to the native code layer, and then us as developers are going to program to the system.device.location namespace. So that's how we get access to these pieces on the machine. That's how we are able to write location-based apps, location-aware apps. Now, you see this thing up on the right here, Microsoft Services. That's a cloud service. That's going to help in, well, we'll get that, but it's going to help in getting information as far as first access. And let me talk more about that. So, with the GPS, the GPS takes a little while, right? You guys, I got a Droid and it's awesome because it has those direct navigation, turn-by-turn directions, and it's GPS, and I hit go, and sometimes I wait 2 minutes, sometimes I wait 5 minutes, sometimes it's just 30 seconds. It's really quick, but there's a delay there, and it takes a while for it to lock onto a satellite. Now that's a horrible experience if you're going to provide location-based, services in your application. For waiting 2 to 5 minutes to say I am next to McDonald's here, or I am in the city of Seattle. So that's where this GPS is really an assisted GPS, an A GPS. Okay, so it's going to take advantage of those other 2 pieces on the phone. That's going to be the cellular and the Wi-Fi radio. Okay, we're talking about first access, how quickly that can determine what your location is, not just by GPS, but by triangulation, cell tower and Wi-Fi triangulation. And that's where this, we got it in here, that's where the cloud service comes into play. And I'll get more into that. So it's not just, the satellite, that's the takeaway from that last slide. So this location service, this location namespace that you're writing, okay? There's 2 settings here. There's one is a default or a low, and the other one is a high. And when you say that you want high accuracy, what you're going to get is you're going to get the GPS, okay? It's going to be deadly accurate. It's going to be horrible on speed, horrible on power, and not horrible, right? It's just not optimal, okay? Obviously, it doesn't work indoors. So other options, if you say I want not high, but I want default, okay, that's when we get cell towers, and that's when we get Wi-Fi, okay? And so obviously cell towers, much faster. Your phone is on. That's how you get phone calls, right? Better in power, better in speed. It's not as accurate. It doesn't work in the wilderness because you may not have 3 towers. Triangulate. Wi-Fi is kind of in the middle there, right? So it's great for here, right? Urban areas. Portland is great. We're pretty wired over here or whatever. It's in the middle as far as power and speed. If I want to compare it to GPS versus cell towers, but I mean, you know, it's when I ask for default or ask for the low setting, you know, I'm going to get one of those two. So the location service is a cloud-based service that Microsoft provides, okay? And this isn't something that you program against. This is something that is exposed through the system.devices.location namespace, okay? And it's just built into the application, to the framework as far as giving you that first access, that first reading of where you're at. So, a demo. Oh, not the accelerometer. How many of you are thinking of building an app today in the contest that's going to be location-based? Some of you, okay? So not right now, but later on. I posted a blog entry that talked about the applications that were there for Bellevue, okay? When we did this a couple weeks ago, when I talked about the different apps that were there and what they did with those apps and how they tried to take advantage of that. So if you want to look at that, it's at kelly.whitepdx.com. Yeah, whatever. Or you can just go for it. I would recommend that too. So this location service sample. It's going to be a really simple app. Let's come here to, you guys see that? I don't know. We're going to look at the app bar. You're going to see that these applications, that first user interaction is typically going to be with the app bar for these demos, okay? And the app bar, I'm going to scroll over and I'm going to see that there's three icons. You know, high, low, stop is the name of the images, it's the name of the text. So what are those? High, low, and stop. I can see there's a status. We're going to be spitting out the latitude and longitude. Hit F7 and jump to the code behind. So right here, system.device.location. And ignore this commented out section. It's something we'll talk about in just a moment. How do you mock location? You have a geo-coordinate watcher. Let me scroll that up. And so that's the object that you're going to be interacting with to track, to get updates, to get status here. And there's a low button click. Okay, so a low button click is going to happen when that user clicks the low button on the app menu. And we're going to update the status. We're going to call a private method that's defined in this code. We're going to look at that in just a second. And we're passing in that we want the geoposition accuracy of default. And geoposition accuracy, you can see that it exists in system.device.location namespace. Okay? So that's the enum that you're going to use to say, do you want default or do you want high? The high button does the exact same thing, except that it passes in the high enum value. The stop button is going to stop the watcher. Caps lock, please. And then we're going to change our status. Right? We're no longer tracking. So what does start location service do? So we're going to new up a new instance of a geo-coordinate watcher. There's this watcher.movement threshold. Okay, what is that? That's commented out. Can I talk about it? So we'll just see what it says. So I hit F1. I want to see the help on this. And a geo-coordinate watcher, the distance that must be moved in meters relative to the coordinate from the last position changed event. before the location provider will raise another position change to it. Okay, so that's helpful for you guys to know. You want to know that they're moving. You want to know that they're moving every 20 feet or 20 meters. Maybe not necessarily every meter, right? That's what you're going to use that setting for. I'm not going to use it right now. We're going to wire up to a couple event handlers for when the status changes and when the position changes. And then by golly, we're going to call watcher.start. Now some of the individuals that did the contest there in Portland, you know, they wrote their location aware apps. They had all the event handlers wired up. They hit go and nothing happened. They couldn't figure out what was going on. They forgot to call watcher.start. So don't forget that. I mean, that's what lets you start getting those readings. These event handlers. So you see we're going to be coming into these event handlers, and we're coming in on the non-UI thread. So what we're going to be doing is, because we want to update the UI, we're calling dispatcher.beginInvoke, and we're passing a lambda to another method we've defined. Okay.